4:37. And is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll put a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Kelly Costa.
Kelly, Kelly.
I, please, at the end.
Aye.
You could do an E too.
No, this
I'd
is
be good.
Kelli. Not to be confused with any other Kellys.
And then who seconds it?
That would be you or me.
I'll second it.
Cindy. All in favor? We have an agenda. At this time, the public is invited to present petitions, make announcements, or provide other information to the commission that is relevant to the scope of authority of the city of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. The commission may provide up to 15 minutes for this public input session. To assure that each individual presentation is heard, the commission may uniformly impose time limits of 3 minutes to each individual presentation. The public will be given the opportunity to address items that are on the agenda at the time the commission takes up each specific agenda item. As their public that would like to have input at this time? Seeing none, we will proceed to item 4, approve minutes from previous meeting, which are not available. So we will table that until the next meeting when we have the minutes to review. And those will be, I think, the June minutes because we did not have a meeting in July.
I'll get those from Emily.
Yep. And so, item 5, introduction of our new commission member, Kelly, Kelli.
I've done that all my life. I had to correct that last letter.
Well, it's good to spell it right the first time. I feel like it's imprinted
Very
a
good.
little bit.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Kelly.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Well, Emily, you can sit up top.
Am I supposed to talk
About
about
your history in Blue Lake.
Okay, I'm married into the Costa family who have been in Blue Lake for over 100 years. My husband and I just acquired the building for the post office this last year. That's family property. My husband's grandfather built the building. And so when his aunt decided to sell, we were excited to take that. And then I managed some property for my brother-in-law's, which is the coffee shop building and the house above that. And I've been on the museum board for probably about 10 years now. When my mother-in-law Joan passed away, I decided that somebody with the Costa family needed to still be involved in some of the Blue Lake parts. So I've stayed involved in that and volunteered here and there, that kind of thing. And I do believe I have a granddaughter that may be going to school out here this year. So yeah.
Cool. More kids.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 6, the City of Blue Lake Gateway sign discussion and direction.
Yeah. So in at previous meetings, you guys had authorized staff to put out a notice to the public about the gateway signage and to make it more of a public process to see if anyone was interested in bringing forward some ideas for signage for the entryway coming into Blue Lake. And this is the area. Um, this is the area by the roundabout. And we've been talking about this for a lot of years. So, like,
Since we began.
since we
Yeah,
since we started the commission.
It was our.
We
whole-
temporarily had placed the sign kind of just pre-COVID, a temporary banner just directing people to the downtown area because what we were finding is a lot of people thought that the entry to Blue Lake was to the Rancheria, to the casino. And so people were getting really confused, like, how do you get to the river? How do you get to the town? And this is the casino. And so we wanted to be able to direct people, you know, if you're coming to Blue Lake for the town of Blue Lake or for the things that the city has to offer, you got to keep going straight and then, you know, take the Greenwood exit. So that worked fine for a while. And then, you know, it's definitely, you know, past its useful life. It's, you know, it's not something that was supposed to be long term. It was really a temporary fix.
It's vinyl.
It's just a vinyl banner. Can be changed out really. I know Elizabeth hates the banners.
loves
Don't
vinyl.
replace it with another vinyl banner.
No. So, but in the meantime, we've talked about, you know, creating an actual gateway sign that plays off of the existing sign That's kind of our older traditional sign that we've had. That's the Chamber of Commerce's sign. And I think that, you know, a city gateway downtown focused sign can coexist with the chamber sign really nicely. But we just need to now kind of take it to the next step. So we didn't receive any proposals for the signage. And so what I would like to propose now is that we as staff make some calls. There's some local artists that are also fabricators of signage that we could reach out to see about getting some ideas or proposals for some signage. So this is
We
just
had some from Wood Lab at one point.
we did, yeah. And then there's also Noah from Visual Concepts. He's a field brooker, interested in coming out, moving his business someday to Blue Lake, has expressed some interest. He's very good at visual graphics and he's also very artistic. And I'm sure there's others out there that we could, get some estimates from. But it's something that I think is really important. I think the city needs it. It's really hard to, entice people into the community when there's nothing pointing them where to go or showcasing what's being offered. So I think it's a very critical component. These aren't anything to represent like what we could have, but I think, just kind of a lower, because the chamber sign is a taller sign, something that's maybe a little bit lower that moves in would be appropriate.
Do we need easements to put it on the county property there or for the school property?
So we need to work with the school, and I don't think that there will be a problem.
No.
We definitely would have to run any kind of designs by the school, but we've worked with them in the past. We share some responsibilities when we can if they're behind on mowing and they need some assistance or whatever. So we try and be really good partners and work with the school, and I don't think there would be a problem with this. But I'd like to move this forward. I think, we put it out there. The public wasn't really interested, so we just need to move it on to, a more professional level, I think, and get some somebody on board who this is kind of their thing.
So you're looking for a motion to move forward with getting
Yeah, or if you guys just want to give us
bids
direction,
or some
that
design
yeah.
ideas, soliciting designs and
Yeah.
bids.
Yeah. And I don't know that you have to do it as a motion, but I think because you had previously
No, this is all a continue. I mean, Michael would be shocked to see what's happening on this.
right. I know. Don't
Don't want to get his hopes up.
This is the hard stuff, though. These are
is.
the hard
This
things
is-
to make decisions on. Everyone sees something a little different. It's hard to make a decision, because you don't want to is my opinion better than someone else's, or so it does take time, but it's important. It's really critical.
Does anybody have any questions or objections to the city staff moving forward?
I just have a
Looking
few
for some-
questions, if
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there like size restraints that needs to be?
I don't know that we know yet. I think, I don't think there's anything that really precludes any line of sight. I think the biggest thing is just making it somewhat consistent, not consistent with the chamber sign, but complementary. And we've talked with the chamber. Emily's the vice chair of the chamber, about ways we've even talked maybe the chamber sign needs to be repainted, or and so how could we work together to make that happen?
What's the expected or remaining life of that chamber sign? I mean,
I think it's, as long as it continues to be maintained, I
Mhm.
think it could,
go
in
indefinitely like
perpetuity.
it. Okay.
And there's some
Welcome to Blue Lake on it already.
yeah.
So
This
we
this
wouldn't
sign
wanna
is
be
more
redundant.
focused to getting people to downtown.
Mhm.
So that was the whole issue, because when you come into the roundabout, your natural inclination is just to kind of keep going to the right, and then you have the casino's sign that's the light up LED sign that's go this way, and then you have the welcome to Blue Lake sign. So it kind of feels like it funnels you to the right, anyways, and so you wouldn't necessarily. There's nothing telling you that there's food and stuff. Go
Keep
go
going.
that way.
Would you need lighting on this sign to make it
Well,
visible?
maybe some uplighting,
Solar power or something? Or
yeah, yeah. So I think, I don't have all the answers. I would like to have someone, give us some proposals. We've set aside a little bit of the COVID dollars to pay for something like this. So, but it's time to pull the trigger. and nothing's ever going to be completely perfect, but you know.
No, we don't. We need at least something to complain about. So let's put it in
Exactly,
place.
right?
I think it's great that we moved. Yeah, I mean, it's needed. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Like River Rock and the design would be cool, but that's
Yeah.
not
Yep, right,
whatever.
right. Yeah, and I don't want you to think that these were like what we would be looking towards, but I tried to find some that were kind of a lower sign because I think it lends itself more to kind of a you've got the high sign and then maybe benches down to the low.
Balances out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And then we also need to look at what's on the chamber sign. There are
Mhm.
probably some things that are defunct and some things are.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I think the chamber was looking at to see if some of those needed to be updated or repainted or sanded, sealed.
Is the museum on it? I can't remember. I don't.
I
Is it
believe it is.
I think
about
it
the
is.
Juanica Club?
I think Juanica's are on there, but there's still, I think, like the Boy Scouts and stuff that we don't
Yeah.
even have anymore.
3 or 4 organizations are on there that currently aren't in Blue Lake anymore, but it's been a heated topic on whether we should sand those boards down and put existing names.
Yeah,
Mm.
maybe someone else wants to adopt.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
take
Del
over
Arte's
some of
probably
those.
not on there.
Hmm.
I don't know. I could maybe pull up Google or yeah, I'm not sure. We could do a quick assessment of and I think the the chamber's sign is more of a an organization versus like a business and stuff. So it's more geared towards giving credence to all the groups in town. But that could I mean that could be updated too. I mean I don't know if like the Old Crows are on there or the fire department or the like Saddle Club. We could look at those. I'm sure the Grange is on there. But yeah, so this would be like I said more focused on getting people into town.
Just
you know.
this way.
Yeah, just keep on going, please.
So you don't have a lot of time to read what's there as you
Yeah,
roll around.
yeah.
You shouldn't
That's a
take
good
up
point.
Still,
Yeah.
Some do.
Right.
You may want to design one that discourages camping behind it.
Yes, yeah. That's
The lighting, that's where the
lighting
comes
is
in.
good. Yes.
Okay, so are there any other comments about direction or discussion of the signage?
Nope.
Okay, moving on to item 7, Powers Creek District Development Update and Discussion. There
Yeah.
are many interesting things percolating over here.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on. I wanted to provide you guys with an update on where we are with our EDA grant and then the Bottawat Community Project, the some of the bike park stuff as well. Like we've got a lot of stuff happening, a lot of planning going on. The first project I wanted to talk with you about is the RV Park and Campground EDA project. And that is kind of coming to an end. We kind of the culmination of that project was to have what we're calling our investor book, and we're going to give it a different title, but for right now, it's not on there.
Sometimes they call them a prospectus.
Yeah, so we're trying to kind of figure out like what we call this. And did it just turn off? I think so. Jesus, I hate when things like think for you. It's like I thought you were done. It's not. There you go. This is still a draft. We had just sent over a couple more changes, but this was kind of the culmination of all the work that we did. So looking at the site, doing the feasibility studies, the performas, the outreach, the coordination, consultation, stakeholder meetings, and then kind of the regional and local gap assessments and then kind of pulling all of that data together and then sharing that with our regional partners and getting some feedback on whether we were kind of on target or if there were some areas of the project that we wanted to that we weren't meeting. So we've gone through all of that, and now we have this. Like I said, our draft title is just our investor book. So Storyland has pulled together a bunch of data. Some of these are blank because these are being filled in with some other additional information, including bibliography but this is something that once we have this completed, we'll be sending this out on the open market to try and entice a developer. So it does two things in this, and some stuff will be pulled out for to shop on the market, and some stuff will be left in as a presentation to EDA so that we can show that we've met our goals and objectives of our grant. So we've been calling this a camp at Blue Lake. That was kind of, through the process, we decided that keeping it kind of simple but nichey, and also thinking forward of keyword searches and things like what's the best way to, get your name at the top of the list. So if someone's looking for a camp, an RV park, camping, Blue Lake, just having that in your title puts you that much further up on the kind of the search chain. So you guys have kind of, I think you guys mostly were a part of this. Kelly, you're a little bit new to this. Hey, cheers. Hey,
I
Darcy.
think we need another seat.
Place?
You are.
Yes.
Can I just sit here? Or
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
sitting here?
No, that's fine. I'm sure it's gonna need a spot too.
So when we started this process, we started from ground zero, and talking about, what is Blue Lake? What are the needs of the community? What are the needs of, what needs do we have from an economic standpoint? And looking at recreation as kind of our new economic focus. Where are some of the infill opportunities that the city of Blue Lake has to meet some of the regional needs? One of the big needs that we found in our region is a high-end RV park and campground. And, it's something that's really lacking in Humboldt County. We're surrounded by amazing recreation opportunities and trails and river opportunities and, just all of this whole plethora of, opportunities to enjoy the outdoors, but we're really lacking as a place for people to come back to. And so thinking about Blue Lake as either a launch pad or a base camp for recreation enthusiasts seemed like a really good opportunity. We do have the power plant is a 20-acre site right next to the river. In a great location, and it has to be repurposed. We're at the end of its useful life, and the city really needs to repurpose that into an economic driver. And repurposing that site into an RV park and campground with a proposed additional lodging facility seemed to be a good direction to focus on. And so we had been funded through EDA for about $222,000 to conduct this analysis. And it was really, we were funded because we're an economy in transition. We were very much a industry focused town. Those industries have gone away, and looking at replacing those economies with something that is not only resilient but sustainable was something that was a high focus for EDA through the 2019 disaster funding. So we were able to sell our story as like this community that's been impacted by all of these things, wildfires, natural disasters, mudslides, road washouts. And so when you're looking at industries being very focused and, on transportation and access, we were able to kind of sell the story that we needed to transition ourselves into something more sustainable. And recreation is a multi-billion-dollar economy in California, and why shouldn't we be a part of it? We've got beautiful recreation facilities. We've always been a recreation town, and it's a lighter footprint and something that has a lot of future. So we went through this a lot of work, a lot of outreach, visioning to kind of come up with, what are our core values? What's our core market? What's something that's palatable for the community? Knowing that there's always going to be impacts, but what's kind of that tipping point where, we're willing to, you know, take those impacts, knowing that, the economic return, the community return could have some, additional value. So, thinking about something that is natural, memorable, sustainable, connected, and inclusive was kind of the core concepts and values that came out of that. We had a lot of partners in this. We've been working really closely with Humboldt County, with economic development, REDEC, AEDC, the Prosperity Network. A lot of this was tied back to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy through the CEDS, and tying this back into the CEDS. And that was something that was really important to EDA. So looking at those cluster targets for economic investment, tourism and recreation are part of that cluster. So that really hit really well with EDA.
This would also create some jobs for staff.
Absolutely,
maybe
absolutely.
Perhaps seasonal ones.
Yep. Yeah, so this is kind of a list of groups that we've been working with. You can see there's a couple of typos in there that we've sent over. And this is a little bit more just about the project budget. It was 222,000 from EDA was a federal share, and the non-federal share that we had to come up with was 55,627. And we were able to do that through all in-kind resources, which worked out really well. So we were able to use part of my wages already are funded to work on economic development. So we were able to use that, some of Emily's time. And then we had so many partners that helped us, Ross Welch, Greg Foster, the county. They went through and reviewed all of our performas and our studies and gave us a lot of great feedback. The Lodging Alliance, the tourism bureaus. So we're able to capitalize on all of that. And I just started having hot flashes, so you guys will have to just bear with me. It's a new thing in my world. So this is just another breakdown of kind of how the staffing and the match came to play. So this is mostly focused on the grant. So that part of it will be pulled out for the investors, but it's nice for our granting agents to. I think they're going to be really impressed with this presentation. And this is kind of I'm excited about this because I think this is also a really replicable model for other rural communities, and especially ones that are going to be part of the Great Redwood Trail, and starting to think about how are their communities going to capitalize on things like, trails coming through, an RV park and campground, people travel distances and then want to go to the next one, or they want to, maybe someone like Ria Dell, who's starting to do a new trail and is looking at kind of transitioning their economy a bit, something like this. There's components of this project that are replicable all the way down that trail system. So I think it's a really worthwhile project that's going to have a lot of regional value just outside of Blue Lake. So this is just more of kind of the bells and whistles, some quotes from Scott Adair from Humboldt County Economic Development, from Greg Foster of REDEC, just showing that partnership and the belief and the need for this type of project. So this was, they started working on kind of a region overview. This is something that will be in the investor book because it shows kind of our thought process and what the city is really looking for, what the community is looking for, and what our regional partners are looking for out of this type of development. So they went through and did some demographics, looking at, what our region is comprised of, location, the proximity to some of the more urban sectors, how far are we from San Francisco, how many miles of coastline, like what are, kind of our terrain, then kind of what the household demographic is of our area. And then we start getting more into Blue Lake and what Blue Lake has to offer. And so this is kind of a composition of information about Blue Lake, our community, and then also kind of identifying the site that we've been looking at, which is Slant Site. Then they started going into the market analysis. So looking at, the number of visitors to Redwood National State Park, what our local lodging offerings are, what the other RV parks and campgrounds in our kind of our local region, what they have to offer. So what are those amenities and what are the things that we would be, so analyzing that was part of looking at those regional gaps and what are some of the amenities that would be valuable for our development. And this is just a little bit more on statistics about the industry itself. This is a booming industry. It's not projected to go down. RV ownership continues to go up. COVID actually had a huge impact on this industry. You couldn't find an RV to buy during COVID because everyone was trying. I mean, there was also a lot of campgrounds that were closed down and had problems trying to stay open, but people were finding places to go. They wanted to get out, and so there's a lot of RVs out there.
So the baby boomers have retired.
Exactly. That's another big part of the population. As the baby boomers enter retirement. So this will be removed. The plan to open in 2026. That was something that they were using 2026 as kind of a projection. So that will be removed. That would be great, but I don't know that we need that number in. So the RV resort plans is looking at a total of 107 total accommodations, and that's a mix of 26 RV sites, 12 tent sites, 40 motel rooms, 14 yurts, and 15 glamping units. So it's a mix of accommodations, and so there's a little bit of something for everyone. And I think it's very small. I think it could definitely be denser, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be. So having something that's more palatable, that's a little bit more exclusive, isn't a bad thing. If you're a campground that is filled up all the time and you've got to get in there, you can drive a higher price point. And it also allows us to have the shoulder seasons, um, put into place. So when we're looking at like outside, like one of the big things that you need to look at is like, what do you do in those off seasons? So if you're booked during the summer, but what do you do during the fall? What do you do during the winter? And what are some of those accommodations that you can capture some of those shoulder seasons? So when we have, after summer, we go into fall, we start going into steelheading season, say. So how do we accommodate fishermen? They may not have their own RV, but they might be just as happy to stay in a motel or stay in a yurt or stay in one of the glamping units, or they might have their own camper or whatever. So, moving into winter, what are some of those things? People coming for Christmas to visit, people are traveling for conferences.
The mountain biking
students.
is
Mountain-
year round here.
Mountain biking. I think mountain biking is an all season. Yeah, so this is kind of a nice setup because, like I said, it allows us to take advantage of different seasons for different user groups without losing too much from the others.
And birding is a good
Yeah.
because that's spring and fall is really
Yeah.
when they see a lot of the
I mean,
migrants.
we are a recreation mecca, and I think that's something that it's been a little bit lost. I think it's like that whole seeing the forest through the trees or the trees through the forest. Um, we're surrounded by it every day. And so we start to lose sight a little bit about this, amazing place that we actually live in. And there's stuff to do all year long. And so there was a lot of thought that went into the mix of unit types to make sure that we had something that was going to be generating revenue season long. Um, so they did, these are the numbers that are pulled out of the pro forma. So they're estimated there will be nearly 22,000 visitors staying at the on-site accommodations annually. The nice thing about this type of development is also the TOT tax. So the really cool thing that I like about RV parks and these types of kind of transitory types of lodging facilities is we're just turning over revenue and we're turning over capacity. So every time an RV leaves and a new one pulls in, that's like a new group that has money in their pocket that wants an experience that's willing to pay for something. And the city is hemorrhaging sales tax revenue right now. We do not have enough offerings for people to spend their money in Blue Lake. Even if we could capture the people who are already here, we would be doing great. But so finding those things for people to do, but that TOT tax is huge. That's just everyone who comes in, that's your lodging tax. And that could be up to 12%. I think our tax is at 10 right now. We're looking at, does it make sense to move that to 12? And that's, people don't really blink an eye at that. It's kind of an assumption. So these are the potential amenities. Some of the things that we looked at that are very popular. Pickleball is huge. We did want to focus somewhat on equestrians because I think that's another niche that Blue Lake has. We are in a climate refuge here. When you think about being an equestrian over in Redding or Red Bluff or Corning or Sacramento, being able to come over to the coast and be able to take your horse and go ride on Clam Beach or up in the Redwoods, like that's like unheard of. So thinking about Blue Lake being able to accommodate some equestrians. So if it's a place for, the living quarter horse trailers to pull in, if we have a place, for some, a stable or, some type of corral system that people can use. A lot of people have their own portable systems, but that was looked at. And in the future, maybe we do look at a covered arena, and that's another way. Corning does really well with their covered arena. They have events all year long and people travel to that. In the summer, it's really flipping hot. It can be 118 degrees, and wouldn't you rather come to the coast? So that was something that we looked at. I think it's a niche opportunity for us. We've always been a horse town, so it kind of fits within our culture. Um, One of the things that are important to RV parks are, some type of pool. We don't necessarily have the perfect weather for a pool, but we did think about a pool that had some type of either retractable roof or kind of a system where it's partially covered, and then can kind of maybe it's like a lazy river goes out, but then the pool's more covered and you have like a splash pad or something. So we looked at that. Electric charging stations was a big one that was talked about. Um, Also, having a place for the community to engage with the park was really important. So, if that, looking at this design, RV parks are really fun because they're very walkable and accessible. And those walking spaces can also be thought of as trails. So being able to, for the public even to come in and be able to walk through the park, being able to pay for the kids to be able to use the pool, for the community, looking at some of those benefits that could be offered, I think is really reasonable. This project also includes a restaurant. It includes a general store. It also includes a outdoor space where you could do outdoor concerts and projects. It's got pickleball courts. Um, Obviously, this is a full hookup venue. This would be top of the line type of development. So you want to be able to accommodate, the $250,000 RV coming through. Um, and then also, being able to accommodate if someone has a tent, that's great too. And it also has um, what are they calling it? Like a conference center. So you could rent it out for weddings and receptions and different gatherings. So they moved into the analysis of the potential revenue, number of visitors, looked at the price, the construction pricing, operating costs. This is what these professionals do. So, I felt really confident. I think their numbers are very conservative. They did purposefully kind of go conservative on the revenue potential, which I felt was good. I mean, I think it's better to go conservative in something like this than to overestimate. But you can see that the cash flow is estimated. And the project does cash flow, so that's good. They went into this is about an 18 to $20 million project. And so looking at the different revenue sectors and what those are projected to bring in. And behind those simple graphics are some very detailed analysis, that takes place that will also be provided to any investor so they can look at the numbers and really vet those themselves. This was kind of a mood board that they did when working with the community and working with our focus groups, trying to kind of, one of the things that we don't have in the Powers Creek district is we do not have any design standards, architectural standards. There's nothing cohesive down there. It's really a blank slate. So looking at it was very hard at first to kind of like pull out, materials, looks, styles, architecture, like what is that place? And the kind of the nice thing is it doesn't have anything. So it's an opportunity to create something really nice. But also, looking at focusing on some of the natural elements that are already there, some of the natural and industrial elements that we consider Blue Lake. So, you do have kind of a mix of uses down there. So it's not bad to have metals and to have kind of the repurposed barn wood look and to extrapolate some of that, the metals, some of the even some of the industrial type, you know, um, uses that could be. I mean, they even talked about like what if you did like a mock teepee burner, or there you could have aspects that harken back to some of our traditional resources. So these were some of the items that we looked at. Just the barn wood, you can see the metal, kind of the pitch of the roofs, and some of the other offerings. These are some of the accommodation styles that people really wanted to focus on, not having something that was just, so overbuilt that we lost our connection to the environment. So having something that was more connected to space. It was a little bit more natural in its look and its feel. So having, you can see like the RV site number 19 is on a piece of kind of driftwood, kind of look. They started kind of calling this mountain modern. We didn't really have a name for it. This architectural style is pretty eclectic, but being eclectic is kind of fun too. So down the bottom, you could kind of see that concept of like the lazy river that kind of goes outdoors and then comes back in, looking at, like a little gear shop and different uses, the little climbing wall and stuff for the kids. So this is a little bit of a look at the proposed lodging, and I was pretty excited about this. I think a small motel, I think could do really well. I think it's like 40 rooms that they're proposing, and this was kind of a mountain modern lodge that kind of harkens back to the roadside lodges from the 50s. So thinking about something that's a little bit smaller, has a little bit more of a natural feel, but has an upscale, room offering. So, the outdoor fire pits where, people could come and gather but, lodging is a huge gap in Humboldt County. There's not a lot of places that thinking about sending people now, if you said, oh, what motel or hotel would you recommend in Humboldt County? I'm like, there's maybe a couple, like, a lot of people are doing Airbnbs. So I think there's a gap. There's definitely a lodging gap that's been identified. And this would be a good opportunity. It's not overbuilt and there's not so many rooms that, you really have to like do, pull a high number of, visitors. It seems manageable. And I think it's a fun concept, and I kind of like the idea, and everyone kind of focused in on that, like I said, roadside lodge type of amenities. And then, they talked about it being memorable. So, having more of an experience. People now, when they go places, they want to connect, they want to have an experience, they want to like meet the locals, they want to go to the logger, see the horses riding down the street, talk to Darcy. So having those local connections to space and then going back and having something that you take back and say, like, I had a really great time in Blue Lake. Like, it's a really cool community. We went to the little farmers market or a show at Del Arte, or you never know what you're going to find in Blue Lake. So some of the accommodations we talked about were kind of the vintage trailers. Those are really, really popular. A lot of new kind of hipper RV parks and camps are going towards, this, and they drive a really high price point. Yurts are also very, very popular. And so that's the glamping side. So these are accommodations. So if you don't have your own, RV, your own trailer, you want to stay in something nice, it's a girls' weekend away or whatever, these are a really fun way to be able to accommodate those visitors. This is kind of a layout of the site map. And, Storyland does a really good job of, creating a product that's fun and kind of resonates, I think, with their user group. So the colors that they use and just kind of the fun way that they pull things together. So this just kind of goes through the site map and identifies where those locations would be. So this was just kind of a synopsis. It's a natural setting along the Mad River that once played host to timber mills, will welcome its guests to experience a sustainable environment where they can replenish, recharge, and refuel. The inclusive community seeks to connect with all that Mother Nature has to offer. People can come for the adventure and stay for the memories. And that was a kind of a message that people in our focus groups really wanted to portray, that they wanted people to feel connected to community. And that was really important, that this space is also connected back to the community. So this isn't, the Walmart Supercenter where we're selling our soul for $1. This is a development that needs to bring some value back to the community, while at the same time we recognize we're willing to give up a few things to have this project to sustain our community and also to bring some value to our own lives. So striking that balance was really important. And so you can kind of see how this is laid out. And I don't know if everyone has seen these before, but these were the kind of the renderings that started to play out. There's a big focus on landscaping. One of the worst things I think with new campgrounds is they usually look like big parking lots. And, trying to get trees to grow quickly. And it's like, you're baking out in the sun and you have this little tree that's like maybe in 10 years you might be able to provide some shade. So part of the budget that they developed really focused on higher level landscaping and planting. So
These gonna be like native plants or plants
yeah,
that belong to the region rather
yeah,
than
absolutely. I mean, I think it's really important for longevity and sustainability to keep that, but they
Escalonias.
did build in a higher level budget to not buy the, $100 tree. It might be the $500 tree that's already, 15 feet tall and stuff. So we wouldn't be starting out with, just little stragglers. This is kind of and these are just renderings. The city could get a developer who came in and said, yeah, we get it. We like this aspect. We don't like that aspect. We would propose this. And that'll be up to the council and stuff to go through that and see what sticks. But this process was to set a vision and a tone for what we would like to see. Will it end up looking like this? Probably not. But hopefully there will be aspects of this that will be incorporated that, will, I think it's a nice plan. So I think it's going to, definitely get some interest. But you can see the pickleball courts. Pickleball is a huge, I think it's like the number one fastest growing sport in probably the world. It's just crazy right now. And pickleballers are a lot of times, it's the new retirees and they have money to spend and, they enjoy traveling. You can do tournaments. We did one tournament already and it was really popular. And it's like, gosh, if we had some nice pickleball courts, we could like really do some more. So this was a rendering of kind of that entryway into the camp at Blue Lake. You can see they put in the horse, they put in the bikes, they put in, the van again. You got the camper. But just showing that, this is kind of an entryway into like a really nice natural environment. And I think it's really pretty. I've spent a lot of time. I have a small little camper now and, I've spent a lot of years backpacking and sleeping on the ground and the low level campgrounds. And I can tell you, RV parks are really nice. They're fun. They're very family centric. It's a really fun environment to be in.
It's the latest craze.
It
getting
is.
those big vans and
Yeah, the Sprinter and the mountain
Sprinters,
bikers. They
yeah.
use the Sprinter vans, and those things are 80 to $90,000 for a Sprinter van. So, this is just kind of a portrayal of kind of the conference center that could be used for weddings, having a commercial kitchen, having that big lawn. You could do a whole host of things with that. This was kind of a layout of looking at some of the other amenities. So you have kind of the big fire pit, you have a snack shack, you have a playground for the kids, you have the little splash pad, a green space where people can, there's cornhole going on out there. This is the glamping section. This is a portrayal of the old Airstreams that people having fun, having a campfire, and this is what you see in RV parks. People circulate, they visit, they share. You have the guys that love to barbecue. You have people making cocktails, kids are playing, riding bikes. It's really a fun, it kind of creates its own community, which is really nice. And then this is just kind of an overview of kind of what the little motel could look like. And then this just kind of goes into some signage. So looking at using some metal, kind of harkening back to the industrial stuff that we have going on, and just having some consistency in your wayfinding. And they did spell Humboldt wrong, so that's been sent over too. But just kind of another layout, just kind of showing the circulation. And I think the nice thing about this is it was really hard for people to vision that site being able to carry this type of development. It's really hard to look at the power plant site and see beyond what's there right now, and it's like, well, just picture it with, that gone and those gone and, it's all cleaned up. And it was just really difficult. So part of the reason why we hired Storyland was because this is their area of expertise. They are storytellers, but they also have the architects and the technology to try to kind of pull these visions together. And so that is kind of the end of that. So I don't know if you guys have any feedback or any questions. Like I said, we'll be kind of synthesizing this in a couple different ways, one for the granting agency and one for the potential investors. We still have about $60,000 left in this grant. So we just got a hold of our grant manager. We've asked for a project amendment to be able to expend that 60,000. And what we're proposing to do is to have all the lots down in the Powers Creek district surveyed and then subdivided. Because right now we do have several projects and we have them only on 3 parcels. And so we need to subdivide those parcels so that we can get all the projects on their own parcels. Which is great that we can use the EDA funds to do that, because it's about $30,000 that the city was going to have to try and figure out how to do that or to pass that on to a developer or, to make that happen. So EDA has said that that is an allowable use of the funds. So that'll just put us one step closer. And then we're going to use about $25,000 to work with Storyland to do some additional work on master planning the remaining parcels that haven't been spoken for. So we have some parcels. We have 2 that are kind of outlier parcels, and we're not really sure the best way to configure those, and also looking at ingress, egress, utility layouts, circulation patterns and things. So Storyland's going to also do that, and that's also an allowable expense under the grant. So yeah, so that will provide kind of a comprehensive master plan of the Powers Creek district, which I think is pretty exciting. This was a big project. We've got a lot of value out of it. And I think it's going to garner a lot of interest, hopefully. Yeah, so that's what I have on that. I don't know if you guys have any questions or concerns or.
I was just thinking RV park is a great idea for that spot.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I want to stay there. I'll just staycation.
Well, and utilizing a community building venues are very hard to find
They are
in Humboldt to have any kind of an event.
right.
And so to be able to utilize that in the winter time
Hmm.
when things are maybe are a little slower or whatever.
Yeah.
And a commercial kitchen, stuff like that. I think that's great.
Oregon has a lot of campgrounds like this.
Yeah,
Very
Oregon's
memorable.
really taking it
Yeah,
on.
my husband and I have taken a lot of trips up to
Mhm.
Oregon because you just don't find this
Yeah.
in California that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in Coos Bay that we're going to be
Mhm.
going to actually that has similar.
Yeah, and actually, I
process.
was just looking at the one in Coos Bay the other day, and I was like, oh, dang,
I
did
know.
they steal some of our stuff?
Awesome. It's beautiful.
I think it has so much potential, and I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised over the investors' interest.
Mhm. Yeah, we've actually already had quite a bit of interest. We just haven't really been ready to get something out. So we've had several calls already, and we have actually through AEDC, they have someone on staff who has worked on these types of projects before. And so he was really excited. He's like, as soon as you're ready, let's get this going. Cause I know several people who would be interested. And I think the city can be very picky. I mean, there's some really nice, groups out there that are starting to focus more on environmentally friendly, development that also provides that community interaction and that experience versus, you can drive down the 5 and there's a ton of, camp RV parks, and you get into them and it's literally just a parking lot. It's a parking lot with a tree, and it's like, wow, this is nothing.
And
But
that's
they're
what you see
full.
around here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything that is even close to the quality that is being proposed.
This has considered the night lighting aspect
Mhm.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually adopted the International Dark Skies regulations for the Powers Creek District. That's part of the zoning. So that means that your lighting can only illuminate, a certain radius. You can't do, uplighting that, prevents or inhibits, the enjoyment of the dark skies. And that's one of our it's a big selling point too. I mean, we have a lot of open sky. And, I know some local photographers who come out. Dave Farrell is one. He does a ton of night sky photography just on the levee. And it's amazing, like what he captures. So, that's another aspect of this type of development. And I think it's kind of nice when, RV parks they're they're fun and very interactive, but they shut down really early. People, it's like by 10 o'clock everyone it's quiet. When it's dark, people are going to bed, and they're getting up the next day and recreating and things. So this would not be a site where you could use a generator. This would be a full hookup, quiet hours. So
I was just thinking, have they considered putting a dog park in this
yeah,
RV park?
we did, and I think that is on the list of amenities because that's almost a necessity now,
kind of a
required.
necessity,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think all the
Pretty
KOAs
underdog.
have those. So
What about river access? I didn't really catch that.
yeah, so that's as part of this project, developing a better access from what we have now down to the levee is really important. And I think once we get in on this site, there's going to be a lot of new access created, and that'll be safer and
River
better
access from
planned.
this site?
Yeah, because you can go from this side. I mean, you can connect right up to the levee trail. I mean, you're not going to be able to go because you're still going to have to go up the levee to get it, but we can connect into the trail and
Oh yeah, just like a little bridge or something.
yeah, let's
There's
safer
already
access
that
point.
spot. In
The
fact, that
Blue Lake
gate's open.
Skywalk.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, the gate,
Yeah.
where the two
The zip
big
lines
gates
Yeah,
are?
yeah,
One of them's open. I
right.
just noticed this morning.
Yeah, there's some drainage and things that take place down in there, but even just accessing to the existing little loop trail, so you don't have to go through kind of like the scary part that's really dark and narrow. But yeah, so this would really develop some additional access points.
Wonderful.
Be nice to see all the chain link fence gone.
Wouldn't it? Yeah. And the wood piles.
Might be good soil there for all those trees.
Free mulch for everyone.
I know. Yeah. We've actually had, we do have several people are interested in that wood because you can do a carbon sequestration and get credit through Department of Ag. So if you take those wood chips and you spread those over, like say your farm or you have like an orchard, those as that mulch begins to decompose, it also sequesters carbon. So there's a lot of benefit to that, and there's a lot of benefit for larger scale farmers to be able to have that material. It's a lot healthier for their soil, and they can rotate their crops through and things. So we've actually already had a few people that have called and said, hey, we need, I've got like a 50-acre orchard, and I can take a lot of that material. So the big thing will be getting it trucked out and the costs and how that all plays out. But that all will be factored into the developer's costs as well. I mean, we've factored in about $1 million to clean the site up as well. So everything is factored into that $18 million to $20 million, budget lines.
Exciting.
The community was in.
Is there any more questions? Questions from the public? Jean?
The hazardous waste site that's down there, is that being incorporated into the price?
What hazardous waste site? What dump?
I thought there was. It has.
Not that I know of.
The dump's now certified for clean.
The dump?
Blue Lake dump or stuff, or
That's not part of this property. That's on the other side. And that's all been remediated.
And for the zoning,
Mhm.
it's industrial now.
Mhm.
So for the process for the new zoning,
Yeah, so it would have to go through a zoning change. And so the recommendation would be that it just be zoned opportunity. And so that allows that mix of uses, including recreation uses.
Kent?
okay, come up here.
Sure, have at it.
So some of you know me a little bit. I've had offers in on the Eagle House, the Scotia Inn, had these things either in offers or in escrows, and the Willow Creek Golf Course up there. These are all projects I looked at locally here as far as basically my main concept that allow people wedding venues. That's where the money is to be made. Unfortunately, none of them penciled out. We have some of the worst occupancy rates for motels in many areas. Other areas will have a lot longer extended time frame. But that's currently what it is here, even with all the things we have going on. It's an interesting concept. Now, I think, Mandy, was this the one that was already previewed down at we had a meeting, public meeting, and they did a presentation? And so what I would suggest is that presentation, I didn't see it on your website, nor did I see feedback from the public. Sometimes there's a perception the public is not heard or doesn't participate early enough. So I'd like to see that presentation on your website along with all the comments that were made from the public, because this is your feedback. When it comes down to integrating the public access with a top line RV park or a top line anything, you're going to find that when you have let's say a low income housing project in the adjacent area, these people, a lot of them really aren't interested in sharing their facilities, their pools, their trails with even our troublemakers in Blue Lake. You know, they kind of expect to have a little bit of not anything going on there. So I wouldn't count on that being if you're going to go for a high line thing of anything. My experience, this is a little bit of what I do. I think I would have a very hard time, getting people that invest at the level that I do and partner up with me to do a project here in Blue Lake. I'm sorry, no matter how rosy it's pictured. I always look at what's a feasibility study. What do you have locally to comp to? What is the occupancy rate of the casino motel? Even when they're comping half of their rooms for the people gambling, they're using it as a loss leader there. And so those kind of things need to come in and a full study as far as any other. I mean, we're talking apples and apples, KOAO, all these things. There needs to be a study of those local people. Maybe it's done, but I haven't seen it. I guess maybe it's upcoming. But these are all the feasibility studies are all something for a return on investment. That's what life's about. Down in Mexico, where I'm at down there, I'm looking at what's happened down there. And there probably were 7 major RV parks, some that would hold 150 units and things. They're all abandoned from that purpose. The 2 that are remaining that aren't vacant that I could buy for next to nothing are been turned into long-term parks where the people want to go down there for at least 3 months when it's nice weather and things and stay. So I think that may be something, if you're going to have just an RV park where you expect it to come and go, you may find that you're going to limit your ability to keep your spaces rented. A lot of people don't, some people like to travel, other people just want to stay for the summer. And so,
That would cut our transient occupancy taxes if
yeah,
they're staying more than 30
you
days.
lose you lose your TOT possibly. I don't know if it's a longer term.
Once you're over 30 days, you don't have to pay the TOT.
Right. That was my understanding. So, I work with, Greg Foster and, Scott Adair. These are the kind of people I talk to. But I'd like to see, this presentation sooner rather than later be given to Justin or be put on your website so that everybody can start looking at it now. There's no reason to have one presentation and things. So you want it out at the public as soon as you can, including the prior one. So if get your feedback from your local people. That's just a suggestion as far as marketing is a very difficult thing to do. We do have great assets here. But if something of this nature was to be supported, I would think that some economic driving entity such as the city of Arcata or someone like that would have done it already. And there's usually a reason why nobody else has done something like this. It's very hard to pay. So $20 million is a lot of money for an investor to come. And right now, our economic thing in Blue Lake, we're about to lose one of our local anchors here in Blue Lake as far as people who rent here and have a business here. And until we can really take and really revitalize what we have, it's not that marketable, to be quite honest with you. And so I think economic development, I think you should look toward revitalizing your downtown, getting CBD loans, hooking up things with Mr. Foster and things because he does have money. He's mentioned that to me.
Ace Hardware in the Emporium.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting idea. And I'm happy to tell you about that one. That was particularly promised to SEVA. at a rate, she went through all the work to find it wasn't going to be sold for 425 or 450. She was promised it. Very irritated when she came to me and found out that that was not true. She'd been portrayed that that was true and that I was going to carry paper on that play bank. So when she found that out that it wasn't true, unfortunately, she got very disgruntled and we didn't have any further communication. So that's a little bit what happened in that circumstance. So I wanted to clarify that. There's a misconception. Anyway,
They're empty because they probably don't want to share the space with someone sleeping in the foyer.
oh, we understand that. I mean, that's understood.
So it's sort of.
So anyway, I'm having my little time. I've had my 3 minutes. I appreciate it. I'm not doing back and forth with the community members here. I happen to be sitting at the dais. So thanks for my opportunity to give you a little feedback. Transparency is the main thing that we need to do. Get it out right away, completely. And then there's not, well, this is a surprise to me. And that's what's happened on many other projects. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
There is a good bit of information on the city's website about what's going on over there.
It has this.
I don't know that this is up there yet. I think this is still in the draft stage, but
And
there
does
was-
it have the storyboard thing that was put out 9 months ago or something? Is that on there?
So
Okay, that's what I'm suggesting. Should have been put on and should be put on now. That's my suggestion as far as if you want people to see what's there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since
Ken.
Humboldt spelled correctly, we can put.
yeah, I just wanted.
Jean, did you have another?
When I was younger, I worked at Crater Lake up in Oregon for 2 summers. It was a wonderful experience. And then RV, my husband and I went up to Coos Bay, over to Shores Acres. That's a wonderful visit up in that area. And for this area, as far as developing in the RV park and recreation and RVing, I was trying to think of what Humboldt County or this area has available for recreational use through the state or recreational through the federal government and things that are options for visiting in this area. And what Oregon has, like Crater Lake, you've got a whole setup where the state and the federal government are supplying activities. We don't have that. We have some trails to walk and such. I'd like to see if we're going to develop Blue Lake to incorporate RVing and bringing people to the areas to become more knowledgeable of what is available to people that come to our city if they wanted to share the experience. What are the experiences that could be shared? So that was just a thought. Thank you.
Is there any more public comment about the RV park and campground?
Yes, my name is Julie Christie. This is my first time coming in front of our economic commission here. I've got some familiar faces and some not so much, which is fine. Justin has provided that portal for us. So I would like to put the same chime I put into at other commission meetings and council meetings that I can, that if we ever can pull together some funds and technology that's easy for staff to run, Zooming would be awesome. I think 4:30 is a kind of a hard hour for a lot of people to come in here. It was a little bit of scrambling for me. I'm going to get through these notes as fast as I can. I don't want to take too much time. I think each of these, I'm already foreshadowing coming in late. Each of these presentations tonight for discussion, they're really long and they're very detailed. I think it'd be nice to break these off into special meetings where we have them at a more appropriate time. I think it's great that our economic commission is getting to review them tonight, but I'd like your recommendation that we spread these out individually in specialized meetings wherever they fit appropriately, maybe they're town halls, so that then within each one of these presentations, we could break them down for smaller segments of comment. It's really hard to take all this in and then break all your comment down to like 3 or 2 minutes. So my next big thing would be the equestrians. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great route to go. Mandy brought in Corning. The reason Corning survives is with their casino. So I'm going to jump two together with, why build more down there when we already have the casino for a little bit of housing to accommodate that? That's all pavement. It would be great to have, obviously it's going to be ripped out, but for horses accommodations. Cal Poly is starting their rodeo team. They need a facility. An indoor facility is great. I definitely brainstormed all this years ago, but farmers markets during the wintertime, venues, all that, anytime you can have an indoor space, really great. water containment too for when doomsday happens. So the next thing is like, well, Danco, we need also a map of everything together. It's really hard to piece everything together when it's just this project and a bunch of open space, and then this project and all the open space. We need all the projects together for that area for a true master plan, in my opinion, because it's really an illusion to what really the sphere of influence is going to be coming out of that place. Private property, definitely very limited down there. Bless Pepe Soul. I think this is a better suited kind of situation to have down in our industrial yard. Definitely, I've been on board with what's going on for the last 3 years. I'm more than aware. I would love to have seen B&B here tonight. They should have definitely been here. An invitation to them, and just to continue these special meetings any way possible. I'll put that forward at the next city council meeting too. Just so that I think we really need to take these little presentations. They're beautiful. This is awesome practice, Mandy. But I think just for clarity and all the problems that evolve out of miscommunication, that we bring these out in maybe little town halls or special meetings, that we could break them down, each one of them into little smaller segments of public comment too. I mean, I know we don't get much sway of what the investor's going to do, and I understand that we're taking on a huge project of 1 million cleaning that place up, but I think it's well worth the investment if they're willing to take it on, because we can't afford to clean that place up. And this is a great turnaround for that. But those are just some of my thoughts and ideas in a nutshell. I'd probably have to ditch. So again, if we can keep pacing these out in smaller increments, that'd be great, because there's a lot more county I wish I could stay in.
I have a question. How would you break this down into smaller segments if it's a
I just mean
An
each site
overview.
individually, like get a master plan map that has site A, Danco, RV, Skyview, what we want to do at the courtyard, all that stuff, like have that all together. But then each one, break each one down so then they can have comment on that one and that one's.
Wouldn't this be what that was? This was the RV park part though? So, and there was nothing about Danco or the.
The other, those projects.
Just like
I
let's
just
just zoom
think
out
the
to other
whole sphere.
sites in the periphery.
And I kind of in the going back because I feel like I have to ditch out and I might not be able to call it later from your projects.
I thought you meant break this presentation into smaller pieces.
Yes, just like that image there. Well, you missing that. That should be online and that should be available for the public. Thank you.
Got it.
Well, moving on, I was going to provide you guys kind of an update on the Bottawat Community Project. This is the Danco Affordable Mixed-Use Development Project in the Powers Creek District, and this is a presentation that's been provided to the Arts and Heritage Commission and I believe Public Safety. It's on our website. We've handed it out to various groups to be able to look at and see. This has been developed by Cash Buja, is a local architect. This is the property down towards the end of Taylor Way. As you can see down here in the corner, this is the little bike park area. We're looking at, I think it's 43 residential units, including 3 live work units. It includes a mix of retail commercial space as well, along with a rooftop dining facility. Includes a manager's unit and a mix of residential unit composition. So this is kind of an overview of just kind of the second and third story residential units. The downstairs is commercial retail, except for the rooftop dining. And we've been working with a local business we've been working with a couple of local businesses on those commercial spaces. This is kind of a top-down look at the proposed development layout. There's still a few things that are pushing and pulling when we're looking at parking and ingress egress, but this is kind of a layout that seems to be very workable and manageable. You can see the live work units are here. These were specifically requested by the community to help facilitate, maybe it's artisans, it could be other small businesses, but being able to have a space where you can live and work downstairs, whether that's an art studio or, like I said, any other type of business operation. It's not mixed in with the affordable side of things, but the idea of having your work and your living space starts to make that more of an affordable type of development. So it's kind of nice. It kind of creates a little bit more of a campus environment. You can see there's a lot of green space. The opportunity zone that regulates this project is mandates a high level of open space and green space, which is really nice. It also mandates setbacks from the creek, setbacks from the trail, and a height restriction based upon your proximity to the trail and the creek. So those design standards have all been taken into place or consideration, have been incorporated. This was kind of a color board that was proposed, looking at a mix of materials, looking at a mix of colors, looking at the use of metals. There's a little bit of stucco, some hardy plank, different roofing materials, some window styles, and then some colors. They're kind of a muted color board that is a little bit more of kind of a natural type of uh, color palette. These colors were actually taken, I think one of their designers actually who used to live here in Blue Lake actually went through Blue Lake and looked for colors that kind of were consistent throughout the community. This is kind of an elevation. This would be Taylor Way along here.
So where's the rooftop bar in this?
So this would be the rooftop bar right here.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted to have the setting sun and then
Oh,
also
the
the southern
sunset,
exposure.
rise, moon.
Yeah. There's a
wind
lot of space on this
there.
buildings too. You'll see a lot of like kind of flat space that's been identified for murals or different installations or different types of materials, so that it kind of creates some dimension. We're looking at some parking and larger sidewalks off the front that would lend themselves to smaller shops if they, or even a dining experience if you had some little bistro tables, or if there was a small business that wanted to have their doors open, or maybe it was be able to have some racking out front, some signage. So it creates that kind of double fronted look. So anyone coming down Taylor Way will also see kind of that commercial environment. And then if you're coming into the facility from the trail side, you'll also have that same type of exposure.
You're gonna want a bus stop over there.
That's part, yeah. The bus stop is one of the items that's a requirement. So this is kind of a view where you can kind of see like this area right here has been identified for a mural space here. You can kind of see a different mix of materials, balconies, wood. Um, I mean, I think it's a really pretty development. It's got, it's not just kind of your linear type of, apartment development. It's got a lot of different roof lines. It's got a lot of, you know, uh, kind of bump out. So it gives more depth. And this would be looking from the trail side. And so we've been working with Arts and Heritage also to look at potential for art installations. Some of the components that come with these projects include community features and features for the residents. So this facility would have a commercial kitchen space. It could have a computer lab. It could have conference space. They usually have gardens for the residences.
It's gonna be shaded on that side.
Yeah.
So
But right now, we just walked this the other day with Fish and Wildlife, and this is such a heat zone. I mean, we were out there, and
yeah,
it was
that's
like
grass
In the
yeah.
summer.
oh my God, it was intense. So they were actually really excited to work with us on a planting plan to be able to kind of pull the riparian zone, make a connection between the riparian zone, and get some shading because they were like, wow, these soil conditions are terrible. Like it's hot. It's, you can see it's all solar. This should be net zero. So the residents of this facility shouldn't really have energy bills, which is really great. That's something that's part of the housing mandates. There's electric vehicle charging stations. Lots of nice features built in. I think Cash has done a good job of, taking a larger development with a larger footprint, but making it feel like it's got kind of a community component to it, that it's got some style and it's got some depth, and there'll be opportunities, like I said, for it to have some community connection as well.
So the extra units, when you scroll back up, are they missing in this picture?
They are missed.
would
They're
be
they're
right there?
flat right there. But I'm going to
Yes,
show you a
okay.
picture of them too. He hadn't designed those yet, so we just got some renderings. In fact, I'll just copy of these. I guess I'll pass those. Pass it out so the community can pass it around, and I'll put it up on the board too. These are just some additional renderings, elevations. Some of the things that we've been looking at are different ways to incorporate art and culture. That can be done in a whole host of ways. You can do signage, murals, sculptures, service programming. We've talked about a bit incorporate living spaces, integrated spaces, whether it could be like, taking a cultural element like a basket garden and being able to translate that into cultural classes, signage. You can see here on this bridge, they did some metal work, which was really cool. It was something they did down in Scotia, I think, or no, Fortuna, like it was a Yarrow Village. And then I think these are in Scotia. These are some concepts for like the murals. So being able to have those spaces pre-designed so that you do have a palette or a canvas for murals to go up. So that was something that had been identified. And so this was just thinking about some of those ideas and opportunities for collaboration. These were some of the concepts for some of the live work units that some of the artists had really advocated for, being able to have a studio space, but also having, a loft living setup. So that is the presentation, and that is also available. It's been available on our website for quite a while, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of an update. If you want to look at the master plan, we're starting to incorporate some of these additional projects. You'll see from here, we're starting to lay out, how the RV park starts to connect to the affordable housing project, to the bike park project. It's really important down on Taylor Way. In fact, we just got a small grant from HCOG. We're going to have Dan Burden, who is an expert at street design and walkability, do design for us on Taylor Way. So right now we have this big, long, linear street that's really wide and people go really fast. And that's just not appropriate as we start to bring in these different user groups. We have to slow it down and we have to create, some safety aspects. So, looking at where the entrances are, the exits, how they connect, what are the opportunities for possibly a roundabout to be able to get people to circulate appropriately. So all those things are being looked at pretty comprehensively and cohesively. You'll see up here, this area is a proposed development by the owners of Paradise K. They've come to the city to talk about developing that property.
We can't see what you're pointing at.
Oh,
Oh, wait,
right
there,
there.
I can see it now. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I might be
the
able to zoom in.
tiny
Let me see
cursor.
if I can. Let me see if I can zoom in a little
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
See
pointer.
that?
There you go.
Right.
Big Vanna White there.
No, sorry, I can't see what's
The
going
white
on there.
units.
When we talked about the master plan that we're going to be having Storyland do, we're going to be looking at the two, I can't even see my own pointer, these parcels right here. I don't know if you're seeing that move. Those are two parcels that could be created through the subdivision process. We're not sure the best way to create those yet. And so that's what the surveyors will look at, and which Storyland will also give us some feedback on what's the best way. Do we create two parcels? Do we create three parcels? Do we, make some littler parcels? Like what really makes sense? And then looking at connecting all of the ingress egress so that this starts to become more of a campus development versus these like segregated spaces. So we want people to be able to circulate. We want the trail to come in. We want, parking. We don't want these big, huge parking lots. We'd like to have pocket parking and stuff. It gets people to, circulate in a better way. And then we've also been looking, obviously, we always look at ingress egress for emergency responders. This project has all been vetted through the fire department and through the fire department's representative, Ed Laidlaw. He's given us review of all of the projects, looking at capacity, turn radiuses, access. And so we've been partnering with them for several months to go through all of that, including traffic studies and a whole host of studies to look at the viability of these projects. So lots of work has been done. The next project will be the bike park, and Emily can kind of give us an update on that. But we're hoping to break ground on that at the end of this month. So as this starts to come together, there's some really nice features here. It really is going to be a very recreation centered environment. I think it's got a lot of value on a lot of levels. It definitely will have some impacts. Are they going to be as great as a mill or a biomass plant? I don't think so. I think we're taking a pretty holistic approach as we can to creating a project that has a lot of synergy. We're not going to get it all correct. It's not going to all come together at once. We're not going to be able to do everything that we want to do. But we are definitely doing a lot of work to try and think this through to try and get the best project that we can.
How much progress does this make on our housing mandates to
This would
make a big dent?
It would make a big dent. Yeah. I mean, we're going to continue to get
It's just
allocations, and that's the problem. It's not.
Well, infinite adding
Yeah.
on is not really. But
Yeah. So, so this would make a big dent in our arena. It, having this much retail commercial space being built for the city is something that we would not get. Spec space is really expensive. And, the nice thing about the opportunity zone, we wrote it with a specific intent in mind, and knowing that the housing was the icing on the cake that would get us the retail commercial investment. And that's really what the city needs. We get calls constantly about businesses wanting to come out to Blue Lake. We just don't have any spaces. I mean, you can look at our downtown. We have a lot of buildings that are underutilized. We have a lot of spaces that have gone from commercial to residential. We just, we've got to have some new spaces developed. But yeah, so this is kind of where we're at with that project. I don't know if you guys have any questions or.
You mentioned Dan Burton and the grant from HCOG for it. Was his summary of the walkability in Blue Lake available online? Or
Did you capture that, Justin? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'll look for that one.
And it was great. He's got a lot of, and the nice thing about Dan is like his suggestions aren't the multi-million-dollar suggestions. It's like, hey, you know what? You stick a little bulb out here, plant a tree there, and repaint this and do your parking like that. Like you're good to go. So, they're manageable things, especially for a small community that doesn't have the resources to put into big development. It's like we can fight off some of those smaller implementation strategies.
Okay, is that the end of
that is what I have on
which was quite
that.
plenty. Thank you.
Sorry.
Are there any more comments or questions on the Powers Creek at this time? Kent?
So when I look at the ozone, I strongly support a conversion of these particular things to the live-work situation. I had a very interesting presentation that was given to the Board of Supervisors about a project in McKinleyville, which is one of the best attended and most strongly supported universal projects I've seen in the whole county. And this was a project out there where they have they're catering to the autistic. And this project, everybody was supporting it. I couldn't believe the people that usually disagree with each other. They all came in. We had a wonderful moment. And that is something that leans itself extremely well to certain levels of autism. They're some of your most creative people, fantastic artists. When they want to do something, they do it very well. And it's something I'm considering doing either on my property through some other thing, and the city may consider a project that's kind of a satellite to that particular one, where some of the members who are the most functional would be living in a situation like this. And it can be designed so they have a caretaker with them. And the main thing on the other one is when that caretaker dies, which is frequently the grandparent, then they have a place to go and be. So everybody knows they will continue to function. So those kind of concepts I find really interesting. I have a problem with any project that does not follow the work. I mean, we have 3 units out there out of 40. I had a problem with that particular design. I'm really glad to see finally another drawing and consideration of a roundabout or something at the end of Taylor Way. I was very disappointed in Mr. Laidlaw, the fire marshal from Arcadis, assessment of the project that he didn't request or at least consider that at this time with this project. That's a safety issue. And I don't know if you've gone down there. You suppose you go down there and try and turn around. That road used to go through, and it should go through, or else there should be a safe way to turn around down there. That's something I've addressed with your safety commission also. I don't know if there are those of you who have people who talk directly with Dan Johnson or not. I do. And the way this project's going, is, in my opinion, very unlikely that it will move forward, but for many reasons. But that's my opinion. And I was going to bring you some things about a Danco project, which I support. I took to the supervisors today, and some things. If you want to know about the projects, go out to town of Samoa and go out and talk to the people. That's one of the. And then the latest one was from Sorrel Place. A letter to the editor in the Times Standard, I believe it was, and somebody was complaining because their rent, because of a combination of HUD problems and the Danco project, went up by 47% in 1 year. That's not affordable. So anyway, unfortunately, I left those documents that I had in the comments from the person who lives out there. Hopefully, one of the biggest problems we have and a concern I have with the Danco project out in Samoa is it's in a tsunami zone, and there is no safe haven should there be a tsunami. Now down here, we're in, I believe, the 100 to 500 year floodplain. It's not in the 100 year, and we're protected by the levee. But in many of those of us who do it, when I talk to Tom Madsen and other engineers, our levee has been decertified and it needs some major maintenance. And if you know levees, you'll talk to some people. I highly recommend you do that. The levee stops down here. It does not protect the casino, and serious concerns in this particular area. I was down there one time when we just about lost our whole sewer treatment plant. One night we could have lost it. We had Kernan in every single truck and every single 5 or 6 excavators. We were going all night long until about 3 in the morning. The weather broke. Otherwise, that sewer treatment plant was eroded. That thing was just dropping off. The river's headed it. But some things need to be done if you're going to have a thing of this nature. Most places in floodplains, design-wise from planning, they have what you call things you can evacuate, which is perfect for an RV park. I mean, it's coming. Hey, we can get the RVs out of here. We're going to lose our infrastructure. On the other hand, planning to have things of this nature in this kind of floodplains, some people would say isn't the best planning until we have a levee that we really can count on. So anyway, that's a little bit of my input on that particular project. And I would love to see a project, and the other ones hopefully will be, as Ryan Russo committed to doing work-live situations where the people will actually be working there, or his employees, or someone like that. This is a European thing. They used to have the farm animals underneath the house over there in Switzerland. They live upstairs. Perfect. You get up in the morning, or you can't sleep. You go down and you do your business. So strongly support that part. Some other things I question. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I think we're ready to move on to item.
I would like to sneak in real quick. I kept some quick notes. I'd like to agree with Kent on, just so that we don't lose what his comments were about the levee. Yes, it dies out to our sewer plant, and the freeway cut our ranch in half, but I'm pretty familiar with that river bar, you guys. Just saying, I'd be concerned. As we are on our side of the ranch now with the erosion. I would like to go back. I mean, these connect, but when we were talking about the RV, is the zoning ozone not official? Just curious because that almost seemed like the verbiage. And as far as moving forward with all this without our housing element adopted, and also that not being in compliance or compatible with our general plan, we should. We don't need to fix the whole general plan, but we need to go back and fix the elements that need to house the housing element to be efficient with that. I saw, I really like the site plan, the overall site plan Mandy had. I did notice one triangle property that I saw transitioned in the last 2, 3 years. I see it's not the same property owner potentially. I could be wrong, but now I see it's kind of part of that plan. Not sure. I mentioned at the Safety Commission last night, and Arcata City Council also is moving forward with really focusing on a microgrid. I pushed this at council and at our HCOG meetings for the county. The county is being more aware of this as well. But just microgridding, multifaceted microgrids, so that, you know, in 2 weeks, power out. We're not doing very hot here. So going on, you know, I don't really feel like the artist advocated the work housing. I know you need the work housing to be officiated into the ozone, and perhaps that's why it's there. But I felt like it was a suggestion, not more so advocated. Just in my reviews of the videos, I was not there. And I do feel like we were kind of moving more into a residential area versus a recreational area. We're not showing the courtyard on that map where we could potentially be putting more housing in, and another rooftop bar. I just feel like it's another like Blue Lake quaint drinking town with a fishing problem. You know, we've already got the brewery and the lager and the casino. I mean, that's great. It's an idea for the moment, but without, you know, having good patrols and stuff, I do worry about that kind of stuff in town. And I just feel like this project has definitely been around for a minute, but I'll go back to 21 when it was first brought forward, and we were highly assured that there would be a lot of communication and a lot of planning process throughout it that the community would be involved with. But I would have to say that's not been my opinion. I think the decision on this property has been made up prior to all that, and that's fine and understandable. I think as we move forward, I appreciate these presentations and the ability to let people chime in. We do need our low income housing. However, if we do additional units now, it's my understanding they're not going to roll over and give us credit for ones in the future. So keeping that in mind, you know, sewer treatment needs caught up. We've got a lot of stuff to catch up, and I always think we should catch up before we move forward. Sometimes it's a smart way to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I think are we ready to move on to the chamber report?
Cool. So our chamber meeting is this coming Monday at 6:30. We have a mixer upcoming in September at with Green Diamond at Camp Bauer. So that'll be exciting to mingle with some other chambers and touch base again. At one, 70 people come, 75 at the Grange, and
Do you have a date for that, September?
I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
But I could post it too, like on Facebook and whatnot. It doesn't seem to be like an open invite, but it'll be sent to employees and chamber members of our surrounding area.
Okay.
We're right now, I think, as a chamber, trying to identify what is our core values, what is our role in the community, and what services do we really need to offer to our businesses to provide value by being a chamber member. And I know that individual and business membership is super important, but I think we need to figure out more than just Annie and Mary Day moving forward. What else can we do? And that's been something that we've struggled with, in my opinion, as I've joined, is we've seen people leave the chamber. They don't pay their dues because they say, you know, what value do I get from being a member? So I hope to bring that up at our next meeting and maybe put out a community and a business survey to see what things they'd like to see and be a part of. We've been meeting with different businesses like Del Arte, Honeycomb, and a communal marquee has been mentioned a lot. That could be updated regularly with events and a kind of a common space where most people could drive by and it's a quick read. So that's a project I'd be interested in bringing up to them too in the community. And then preventative maintenance for our sign at the roundabout. It is wood and it looks like some parts need to be restained and that type of thing at some point. So that type of maintenance, and then the discussion of, do we want to update the sign? I think that's something that could be included in a survey to the community and businesses of whether they think it's time to move forward with some organizations that are no longer in Blue Lake and replacing those with our newcomers that have been here actually now for a long time, a lot of them. So I'd say for the chamber, that's kind of it. We're also looking for if you've driven down G Street in Arcata, they have those street-wide banners for kind of holiday events, things like that, how we could promote things more effectively. So that's my chamber update.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Are there any more comments?
One name you didn't mention on there, and he's probably one of the more powerful people as far as I believe he's a chamber member, is Michael Fields. Michael Fields is chair of Headwaters, and he has the skill set to bring things to your group if you're able to involve him in your process. Definitely connected and definitely has the skill set, having been the principal player in Del Arte forever until recently here, and is very vested in the community. So I did want to make a shout out that if you're able to get a few of those major players who are the successful ones, probably the most successful business I believe ongoing currently in Blue Lake. Darcy's doing great there too and everything, but it very diversified and brings a lot of people in here. And so working with Michael would be great. I have a limited time. I've considered joining your organization, but some people say, well, I would never be a member of a group that would have me as a member. There's a saying like that. Someone said. But anyway, I do strongly support what you guys are doing. It's imperative if Blue Lake is going to survive economically and fix a lot of broken things that we work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Michael Fields has been super valuable, and I look forward to learning more from him and what resources he can show us.
And are we ready to move on to item 9, the first item 9, the city manager and staff report?
Yeah, so I think I've brought a lot of info to you guys today. Those are some of our bigger projects that we're working on. There's a lot of moving parts in the city, and I think it's really an exciting time. We've been working for a long time. Roxanne and Cindy, especially. You guys have been here since the beginning, since we created the EDC. When we were like, you know what, we need to start focusing on development, and we're starting to see a lot of economic development's a long process, and we kind of had a long ways to go to we've done a lot of rezoning, writing new zones, creating opportunities, working with Darcy and seeing how her business has moved forward. We have the town square now. We're out to bid for that project, to actually turn that into a real town square, so that's exciting. There's a lot of forward momentum. We're getting a lot of calls. Emily will provide an update on Parks and Recreation, but that has just been a huge economic driver that we saw after COVID, being able to reopen and just see how many people have come out and supported our recreation programs, and just seeing the opportunities that we have, especially even with just Crash Hall and multitasking that space. We've made some really big investments in that space, and we're really starting to see how those pay off. And so it's been a bit of a learning process. It's been a long road, but I think we're definitely trending in the right direction, and getting some stuff that's starting to eventually we're going to take that first shovel full of dirt, which is exciting. So Emily can give you an update too on the markets and some of the recreation stuff. We have the bike park coming up, and but yeah, lots of moving parts, but it's an exciting time. I think it's an exciting time to be a Blue Laker.
And there's the facilities here that are incubating businesses.
Absolutely.
Even as,
Yeah. We're Justin has partnered with us. He has the big movie screen now. We've been doing movie nights. I think that's going to be really popular, especially in the winter. When people are looking for things to do. Cheris has been working a lot to get the Crash Hall ready to be able to be a music venue as well. So we've, purchased some of the baffling and stuff to help with the acoustics, working on revamping the stage. We have a lot of stuff going on with the commercial kitchen in Crash. We've already got some businesses who are interested in partnering with us to do pop-up restaurants and dinner nights and different things. Our skate program is off the charts, and we're looking at, we have our heat press business. We're going to be opening, I'm giving you a report. We're opening a skate shop. I'm so excited too. Just our concession stand. Just a lot of really great things, so it's been fun. lots of good long-term investments taking place.
Cool. I'll add on to that. Oh, you're good. With the Sunday market, we're definitely learning a lot this year since we've not necessarily partnered with Humboldt Made. We are with NCGA, North Coast Growers Association, and they've been super valuable in helping us connect with farmers and vendors, and get the general structure of the market. But obviously, we are struggling to get the foot traffic that we got last year. And Humboldt Made, I think, had a huge draw of people. You know, we have 15,000 followers on Facebook, and yet alone count the other ones in. And just a lot of connections within our county. So we're trying to get creative, and we met with Keiko from Honeycomb day before last, and really talked about, how can we make our market special if it's going to survive? How can we make it worth for vendors to come out and want to vend here and make a profit and leave feeling good about it and want to come back? She had a lot of great ideas that Paris and I are kind of mushing through our brains of how can we get this to work, and possibly really focus on that cross promotion and partnerships and connections, because it seems like the more people you have involved, they tell their people and so forth. And then finding some activities, some family friendly things that maybe we can collaborate with the rink or the park to really bring people out for a more all experience type of day. And it seems like live music was a lot more popular too. So moving back towards that in future series, and seeing how the next three go.
I did want to make a comment, and that is that I think, didn't we last year have it in September?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
August to
And I
September.
think there's so many things that are competing
Mhm.
in August, July, August, that if we can push it out next year into September, I think it'll be a bigger draw.
Oh,
Yeah, and it kind of
it
extends our
ends.
season.
It ends in August. At the end of August, that's
August
the plan.
27th.
Mm,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
That was
People are-
something NCGA kind of pushed us to do, was to start earlier because, the product with their farmers. But then we were hit with because it's a late
Winter,
spring.
yeah.
A lot of the farmers didn't have enough produce on to support going to the Arcata market, the Friday night market, Sunday with us. Those are the unforeseen things.
Yeah.
But they wanted to extend it a little bit farther. But then we found July is when everything is happening in Humboldt County.
Yeah.
So every weekend we realize like, oh, we've got, the Redwood Harley Davidson thing. Oh, we've got,
Or rodeo.
So yeah, July is something I think when we do the post-op, we'll kind of try to either truncate it to an August market and maybe look at going into September again. But it's finding which pair of pants really fit us.
Right.
We've got the citywide yard sale, I think, is scheduled for the 19th, according to the water bill.
Yeah.
So that will tie into a market.
That's Saturday.
That's a Saturday?
Sunday.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's the other thing we're considering is because Sunday is that the best day for us? There's the Friday night market is taking a big chunk of people's attention.
Huge.
And then you've always had the established Arcata market. So we have to differentiate ourselves on Sunday to get people to think about us. It can't be just a farmer's market. It can't be just a crafts market. We've got to figure out a way to get people to think of Blue Lake on Sunday and what can bring here.
I think focusing on doing things in August and September makes a lot of sense. And I know that I've mentioned this ad nauseum, but Annie and Mary Day used to be in August, and we didn't have a whole lot of conflicts.
Yeah.
And, I know that we switched it back when Del Arte got really involved, and there was the Mad River Festival or whatever. But they're not really doing that much with that anymore. And so I've mentioned this to the chamber, and I think some of them are ready to shoot me. But I do think that it would be good for us to spread out away from those big blocks of those events that we have to compete with.
I'm in agreement.
I agree too.
Yeah, definitely. We compete hard on Annie Mary Day.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And we did really well this year. I mean, we did. So it's not like it didn't work, but I think it would have even been better.
And September too is
yeah.
everybody's back for school.
Mhm.
You know, to go.
And September's nice
It's
around
September.
here.
Great
It's like
weather.
our great.
September and
Great
the
weather.
first half of October in Humboldt can be some of the best
Mhm.
weather around for sure.
Cindy, I've
Right?
I've never considered shooting you for your ideas, so I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Ken.
Sunday's not a bad day, I think personally. It's the only day available really to do something outside not to compete with other farmers markets. But there is little things like the Volkswagen Club and things they would probably love to come out once in a while and display.
Fun.
And different little, not a car show like we have on Annie Mary Days, but some of those smaller,
The RC cars or something.
Yeah, something
Getting
like
a
that.
lot of vintage motorcycle riders showing
Yeah.
up at the
Today,
doghouse.
Yeah.
Those
Went
would
by
might be
cool today.
some.
You got a different club.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, something like that. And then the other thing is I was the one of the docents at the museum this Sunday, and not having it actually confused a lot of people that aren't social media people.
Yeah.
Having what?
That not having the market on Sunday,
Oh.
people were like, where is it? They'd
Yeah.
come to the door and we'd say, welcome to the museum. They're like, I'm not here to see the museum. Or, where did the farmers thing go? And one guy was looking to be a vendor and you know, who do I talk to? Where's it at? And that even if it could be routed to another street, should that ever happen again? Something so that it's still, even on a small basis, it does happen. Consistency is a huge thing for people. But for future, I mean, like you said, you're still figuring it all out.
Yeah.
But I
Too
think it's
much
a wonderful
conflict.
thing for
Yeah,
sure.
I do.
I really do. And it takes time and, you know, lots of patience and due diligence for sure. I
And
totally
the food
understand.
vendors have been doing pretty good. Seem like the food vendors especially have done well. I mean, I know the
Well, I have a comment on that.
no.
Okay. Some of the vendors are really expensive.
Yeah.
And Vince and we bought 2 hamburgers, and it was over $40.
Mhm.
And well, he got bacon on it. Okay,
Well, then, see,
it was the bacon.
that's like $5 right there.
But it's like in our mind, you know, I mean, we made a choice to buy it. I'm not saying that they did anything but some things that are more affordable, maybe.
And I think that was something we looked at from last year's market. A lot of our artisans were pretty high end.
Yeah.
And I mean, beautiful stuff, but it was a little bit out of people's price point. And I think that was a frustration for not only the vendors, but also the, you know, people coming to the market. It was like, and this time, you know, I try and like, I always feel bad if I don't buy a little something from everyone, you know, because it's like you're buying and then you feel like someone's watching, like, I'm gonna buy something from you too. But you know, it seems like this time there's been more of an affordability factor for the vendors, at least. I've been able to, you know, kind of spread things around and
Oh, nice.
you know, but
Just
yeah,
not a whole lot of vendors.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And the live music people.
yeah, we definitely the music is a big
great, you
draw.
know. And
Yeah.
where did I have not been able to make a Sunday out here necessarily to see that. Where do they play? Like if you do have a live band
On Del Arte stage.
out
Yeah.
back there.
Mhm.
There's no way to put them in the park, the little city center.
Not necessarily. You know, the Del Arte stage is actually really nice. It's like got that nice lawn, and then we put the food vendors on the side, so it kind of works really well. Last year we were able to use the town square. We were able to. It was a little bit bigger, and this year it's a little bit smaller, but we're doing it ourselves without all of the additional costs.
Sure.
And so you know but you know if going into the end of August, like it might start really picking up, and maybe we do push a couple weeks into September too.
September last
Yeah.
year.
Because there hasn't been a lot of produce has been the problem.
Yeah, and
You
you gotta
know,
see.
So we're all kind of like, okay, like when's all this stuff coming in? So
Not
you
many
know.
melons. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much yet. So
Well,
but
I
it's
think
getting
it's
there.
great, and hopefully it'll push through to next year too.
Yeah.
And
You
just
may
keep
find that
growing.
Go ahead.
Nope, I just said, and hopefully it'll keep growing.
You may find that if you use the concept of marketing of bundling the market with some other kind of event, such thing as they have a dog vaccination event, you know, Or if we had Dan Comer out here, you could have a come and tune up your mountain bike a bit, because some days went along.
Good idea.
Out here, or you can bring out your bikes or kayaks or something, be part of it, a feature thing for each of those. That would draw those particular clientele, and you'd also have access to their advertising base to bring people to your other functions.
That's a good idea.
Alright.
I wasn't trying to be rude on my phone, but I was trying to find a date. The Blue Lake Saddle Club's gonna have a meeting and I wanted to update everybody. Our arena got modernized with some really nice beach sand and talking about drawing people to Blue Lake. So on this meeting, we'll be talking about some events and some money makers and stuff like that. And that will be at the Lager Bar, August 17th at 6:30.
Moving into general parks and rec, is there any more public comment? No? We're moving forward. We have a lot of our rink improvements arriving through freight. So the sound panels, like she mentioned, we've been absolutely blasting the neighbors with the bass and our stereos, and so hopefully this will really limit that vibration coming through and make it a more pleasant experience. We've gotten our play group funded in 2025.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be good. And we've been investing some new toys and different things after hearing some feedback from the community about that. So we're excited to roll in and get that going. We've partnered with Humbugs and the Moose Lodge and the Pony Express Days for their car shows. So we'll be helping them in return for their help in our car show and cross promotion. And somebody mentioned with the Sunday markets, perhaps bringing the Humbugs out or something. So that might be a great inlet to get that going there. Cheris has been taking over our skate program. It's been pretty self-sufficient and doing well throughout the summer. We've tried to explore some other options of revenue, and I think creating a community survey to see what programs and activities the community is interested in seeing would be pretty valuable for us, because we've figured out the skating part, and we think with the improvements this fall and winter is going to be a really good season for us, and parties have been holding steady. But finding what other areas we could branch into and make the best use of our facilities. With the bike park, we'll be meeting with the Humboldt Skate Collective, some local bike park engineers next week to discuss the site layout and the first steps to groundbreaking. So we're looking to start before the rain really gets heavy, September, October, and get that initial dirt track going there. We're hoping to get a grant funded to allow for some ADA pathways where people could on wheeled mobility scooters also participate in the pump track area with an inclusive playground added to that. Do you have any Parks and Rec update?
We're just waiting for kids camp to vacate the building.
Get out.
Because I have been entertainment painting the stage. Yeah, as soon as kids camp's gone, we'll be doing some major investment in improving the building. We've got about 58 panels that are going up in the ceiling, about 22 that are going around the perimeter of the walls, which will greatly dampen that. Any musician in Humboldt County knows about this room. They call it the Gregorian chant room. It'll completely change that room. And an upgrade in our lights. So we're going to have some real disco lights in there that will be put in with a beautiful cluster mirror ball chandelier. So it's going to be a stunning facility for people to come and see the first time. And definitely when we get done with all the upgrades that we're putting in there, we do want to have some kind of big event for a grand reopening. And I've already been talking to one of our DJs that spins for us, that comes and spins vinyl, about doing something there. And then, getting some of our musicians involved. Russ Cole has come through and kind of listened to the room. I've had Rob Johnson from Hungers come. and give us his upgrades and thoughts. So we'll be incorporating a lot of that knowledge that we have, and both of those gentlemen are like the premier sound guys in Humboldt County and traveling, with touring artists. So using them is going to be a great asset. But yeah, it's going to be starting after August 19th. I am going to be very busy in there painting and then getting ready for the contractors to come in to do all the upgrades. So we'll have a beautiful, beautiful inside building that can be utilized in many, many ways.
Yeah, the
Cool.
exciting thing about Crash is there's just so much opportunity, but we needed to really put those investments in. So it's, we're also looking right now for sponsors for a new scoreboard so we can, host basketball tournaments and volleyball tournaments and things and pickleball. And, then you have the music component and you have skating and you have, the commercial kitchen space. Like it allows us to drive revenue all year long rather than just being like, we just skating and then you have basketball that's just drop in a couple bucks here and there, but looking at multitasking that space, I mean, it's just a beautiful building. It's such a gem for our community to have it, and it's really we're putting in a lot of effort into making it a much more usable space and an economic center for the city, so it's pretty exciting to see.
One of the ideas that Justin came up with his beautiful screen that we now have access to is actually having a gaming tournament.
Oh,
Ooh.
So that
Oh, like age category. I'm like, I gotta. Okay.
simultaneously.
You're in there painting during the
players-
day. I'll just send him over.
We actually have a tournament and
Oh yeah.
have
Watch people. Yeah.
prizes. It's kind of thinking outside of the box how we get people using this room, and then that transitioning to being able to have tournaments here with the scoreboard and with accommodations at the hotel and get outside facilities coming and looking at our space as a potential venue.
I think another,
Who would have thought?
yeah.
Is the leisure sports gonna been still?
So we had a few commissioners either sick or out of town for that. So we've talked, Bill from Mad River Brewery wants to help partner with a food truck festival, and part of that will be a leisure sports component of that.
Is there a date for that yet?
We're thinking with part with the leisure sports, we want to push it out far enough to be able to plan it well. So probably October, November, I think.
I think they'll probably do medieval festival again.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be a big one.
We have that booked October, I
There's
believe.
a Hoptoberfest September 30th.
29th or 30th, the last Saturday.
Maybe the leisure sports could be partnered with one of our Sunday markets next time.
There you go.
It can be
That's a
that
good idea.
bundling. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We have a holiday market. I've been getting quite a few emails about that, so I'd like to talk with Mandy and see what different programming we can do. And also, like last year, the Grange toy drive, connecting these better, partnering with the school with their coat drive, canned food. And then also partnering with local schools once we have our new lighting and sound in to offer school dances, sober grad nights,
That's fun.
bonding activities for classes and stuff.
We did our first middle school dance this year.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
it was
popular.
It was great.
So great. I've never seen so many gummies like squished into a floor. And
Yeah.
we learned some valuable lessons, but I think all the kids had such a great time. We have like a great venue for middle school dances.
All over.
We had
Cobra?
kids, yeah,
Willow Creek?
yeah,
Yeah,
all over
Trinidad?
Garberville.
They
Yeah.
do when they have them in McKinleyville too.
Yeah,
Good
yeah. In
over
fact, they
there.
were a
It's
little
really
bit
cute.
miffed with us a little bit about it, but it was like.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about our venue is it's not just like a gym. It's like you got video games, you got concessions, you've got, other spaces for kids to interact. So, because most kids just kind of stand around like no one's really dancing. And if they are, they probably shouldn't be. It was just the worst dancing I've ever seen, like off the floor. But they're just having a great time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good moneymaker too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
When you wanted to join
Black lights and the egg carton.
There you go. Exactly. Well, Crash Home is, I totally agree, it's our gem here.
Yes.
It's kind of different. Somebody brought back to me the other day that Crash, I believe, was, you might check the history. It might have to be renamed technically because it wasn't donated
saw
by the
that.
Crash family, it was donated by somebody else. And I
Perigo.
can't remember exactly what that was, but I did want to make mention, and I don't know whether it's justified at all. If you do feel your skate inventory as far as quality of your skates isn't what some people would like to have, you might want to budget some money to upgrade them. And I have no idea if that's true or not. You know, it's just that if they're older or something like that, upgrades on that's money well spent. And I don't know, it's here, somebody brought that to my attention.
There were a lot of skates purchased in the last
just
1 or 2 years.
Every time somebody's been there.
Right, and a lot of people bring their own skates too.
That's why we're gonna be opening a skate shop.
Contracting to sell skates. We're having a skate shop. We have a kitchen done. We're gonna have a skate shop.
Oh, wow.
Contract right now, so people can buy their own skates.
You could even do like raffles where
Yeah.
you win a gift certificate to get skates somewhere. Maybe that.
Or one
could be
wheel
a
at
way
a
to make-
time, how's that?
That's
Yeah.
cool.
One way.
Did you have a holiday market last year?
We
No.
we did not.
Really?
Oh,
No,
not
we
with
did.
vendors. We had the horse story tour, which
Right.
is with Bettina.
Well, we partnered with the Grange. We helped promote the Grange's holiday
Yeah.
market.
So that's
that
the
was the
museums.
Or the
that is-
museum,
Yeah,
the
that's
one
the
that was at the Grange,
museums
yeah.
one. So, I would hate to see it cannibalize with the museum.
Yeah,
That's a big
no,
fundraiser
it
for
is,
us.
yeah.
So I would definitely hate for it to consume that
Absolutely.
for sure.
And I think, when I was a kid, going to the holiday market was always here at Prash, and it was like, it was big. And I looked forward to it every year. You'd go get like cookies and, like the little crocheted things and ornaments and stuff. And there could be an opportunity to expand it.
Well, yeah,
and
that's
make
what
it
the other thing
bigger.
I was going to say
Yeah.
is that, maybe it's just a different venue and the museum still puts it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we just add vendors to it because we also do food that day. And
It's a really nice event.
it's
Yeah.
a nice event, and it's like I said, one of our biggest fundraisers these
Yeah.
days, since
The
there's
other
really
good
not
one
any
is
more of the
bingo.
nonprofit.
Oh,
So
we
we could even
talked to you about
partner and
bingo.
maybe do the holiday market here,
Yeah.
but still do like a bingo night or something at the Grange, so that the Grange, because I think the Grange don't they get something off of the holiday market, or do you just use the space?
They let us just use the space.
Oh, okay.
Well, and the holiday market, they provided food.
Oh,
So they
okay.
make a
So
little.
The
you
last
can-
few years, yeah, they've done the
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done the food.
Yeah,
So
so we could
that's
find
what
a
we-
way that everyone could make some,
Mhm.
but I think the
It's a
holiday
nice
market could be
market at the
bigger.
Grange that you guys do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're outgrowing
You're
it.
outgrowing it.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
outgrowing it. There's usually more vendors than there's space.
Prash
And it
is
can
a
be
great
standing
space
room
for it.
only. It kind of takes a while to
Absolutely.
look around.
So yeah, maybe it's a good opportunity to, utilize the space
Yep.
and
You guys do
Yeah.
the market. We'll do the Winter Wonderland in the
Yeah, the
park.
horse story
right,
tour.
yeah,
Light it up
and
and
somebody does the food, yeah.
Yeah.
So just something, another nonprofit in
Yep.
the area kind of thing.
Well, and that's what's really important for us. Like, there's literally just, Cheris and Emily and I, and, I have 5 million other, jobs, and Emily's got things going on, and Cheris is really limited in the number of hours she has. And so we've really been trying to build those connections, like through the chamber to the Grange, to these other entities, because we need them to step up to the plate as well, because we really can't. It's not really our thing, but we all need each other. And so trying to empower each other to play off of each other's resources or marketing or events and things, like, we have to partner. And eventually I'm hoping, that the businesses get more involved and stuff, like Bill did the run this year. That was really fun. And it was a fundraiser for Parks and Rec. But just trying to see those cross connections where, your business can do, can bring in, more business by partnering and doing like another event or something. So we've been putting a lot of effort into trying to build up this capacity, but eventually someone's got to take it on.
Somebody has to
too.
help. There has to be
Yeah.
more than 3.
So it's a lot, and we're getting a lot of those partnerships. The Saddle Club's always been a great partner. The Grange, the museum, everyone's,
The Humboldt Folklife.
yeah,
Society.
absolutely.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that because the museum is doing the bingo in September, and if you're only going to have 2 more of the markets days on a Sunday, we need to make up some quarter sheet flyers to hand out at that market.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're getting a little off topic, but it sounds like maybe there's a future or an agenda item here Wow.
So yeah, so that's what I'm just like, oh,
Put
okay, you know,
reparations
yeah,
and future events.
exactly. No, I think that's a great thing.
Okay.
I think you're doing
Are
all
there-
doing great,
I know.
right?
I know. I don't know how you guys do this without like just a huge wall calendar, like everything inputting from everywhere.
Well, and I really think the chamber is really a good place for this to land, you know, and then we all come in and help. But the chamber, that really is their thing, you know, like creating, you know, opportunities for businesses to thrive. And so you guys have a pretty good board now too. There's some new faces at the table, you know, some that are, you know, more business minded and, you know, kind of need this.
Yeah, the
So
September mixer should be an interesting one,
Yeah.
I think.
And where's the mixer?
Camp Bauer.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next chamber meeting?
This Monday, 6:30 here.
Okay, so are there any more Parks and Rec updates?
That's all I got.
All right.
And I'm so glad you're recording this because I missed so much from my minutes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And you can just keep them really short.
Yeah, just time.
No, I was going to go into everything, what everyone was wearing. like,
So, under announcements, I think there's a Grange breakfast this Sunday, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, like a real one, maybe.
Yeah,
Or-
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a is it a
Sit down.
Buffet.
Oh, and then you can go sit down.
Yeah.
Cool. Are there any other announcements?
Yeah.
The museum will be open this weekend.
Museum will be open.
Yeah.
1 to 4, Saturday and Sunday.
Wonderful. Where? Oh, there's the Sunday market, and then okay, and so we got a couple future agenda items. Are there any other future agenda items that we could include? Any ideas? Please email somebody before the next meeting in time to get it on the agenda. If you think of
just pick
something,
somebody, send it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
send it to me. I'll send it on to somebody else. And at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would entertain that motion.
So we have a first, a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
And Kelly, and we are adjourned at 6:44.
Okay, I lied.